Imagine gaining more respect, more influence, and more power simply by cutting your words in half. Most people believe speaking more makes them appear confident, but Machiavelli teaches the opposite. The tongue is a weapon that often stabs its owner first. Today, you'll learn why the most powerful individuals in history mastered the art of saying less, and how you can use that same mastery to command any room without raising your voice. In a world where everyone talks endlessly arguing, explaining, oversharing, true power belongs to the one who speaks least and observes most. The problem we face today is simple. We talk ourselves into weakness. We reveal too much. We explain too much. We try too hard to be understood. And Machiavelli warned that a leader who cannot control his words cannot control his fate. This video will reveal how silence becomes a strategic tool of influence, how restraint shapes perception, and how measured speech makes you appear wiser, stronger, and more in command than any loud voice ever could. In courts of power, whether royal palaces or modern office, most dangerous individuals are never the ones who shout. They are the ones who observe, calculate, and speak only when the moment is most advantageous. Machiavelli understood this well. A ruler's silence is not emptiness, but strategy. When you speak less, you become unreadable. And in the game of power, being unreadable is a shield. It prevents your enemies from predicting your moves, and it forces allies and opponents alike to overestimate your capabilities. People fear what they cannot understand, and silence wraps you in the cloak of mystery that every strategist must wear. Most people, however, cannot tolerate silence. They rush to fill it with explanations, justifications, and nervous chatter. They reveal their insecurities with every word. They expose their weaknesses without even being asked. Machiavelli would remind you that while others speak to prove themselves, the wise man listens to discover the truth. When you say less, you give others room to expose themselves. They will tell you their plans, their beliefs, their fears, their doubts, and each word they speak becomes valuable intelligence for your next move. The battlefield is not always made of swords and armor. Sometimes it is made of conversations. And in those moments, silence is the sharpest blade. But speaking less is not only about concealment. It is also about magnifying the weight of your words. When the silent man finally speaks, everyone listens. His words carry gravity because they are rare, deliberate, and stripped of waste. People assume his silence means thoughtfulness, and whether their assumption is true does not matter. Perception is enough. Machiavelli wrote that a ruler must know when to hide his intentions, and nothing hides them better than brevity. Words are windows into your mind, and every unnecessary sentence gives outsiders a clearer view of your inner workings. The less they see, the safer you are. In negotiations, those who speak least hold the most power. The other side grows anxious, wondering what you are thinking. They begin to doubt their position. They repeat themselves. They bargain against their own interests. Your silence bends their will without force, without threats, without confrontation. What could be more powerful? Even in everyday interactions, restraint earns respect. The person who does not gossip, does not ramble, does not seek attention becomes someone others take seriously. Silence signals discipline, and discipline is the foundation of authority. Consider this: a river that floods destroys everything in its path, but a river guided through narrow channels powers entire cities. Speech is the same. Uncontrolled, it weakens you. Directed with precision, it strengthens your influence. When you speak less, you remain calm while others lose control. You remain strategic while others reveal their desperation. You remain powerful while others empty themselves of every advantage they once held. Silence becomes your fortress, your weapon, and your crown. Machiavelli would tell you this truth. In the long game of influence, the one who speaks least ultimately controls those who cannot stop speaking. Because power does not belong to the loudest voice. It belongs to the most disciplined one. When you walk into a room, power is not always claimed by the loudest voice or the most dramatic presence. Often, it belongs to the person who sits quietly, watching, calculating, speaking only when the moment demands. Silence, in Machiavellian thinking, is not emptiness. It is not passivity. It is a deliberate posture, a weapon crafted with precision, sharpened by discipline, and wielded by those who understand the psychology of human perception. If you learn to use it well, silence becomes the force that makes others lean forward, observe you more closely, and question what you might be thinking. planning, or preparing. This is the beginning of real influence. Imagine standing in a circle where everyone is talking, laughing loudly, debating trivial matters. These people believe noise gives them presence. But the moment you step into this circle and say nothing, the atmosphere shifts. Some will glance at you to interpret your expression. Others will wonder whether you know something they don't. A few may feel intimidated by the absence of your words because silence, when intentional, is never neutral. It creates tension, curiosity, and sometimes even fear, and people respect what they do not fully understand. Most individuals cannot handle silence. They fear what it reveals. They assume something is wrong if nobody is speaking. They panic when the air goes quiet. They rush to fill the void with explanations, excuses, unnecessary opinions. But the Machiavellian mind thrives in this stillness. The less you speak, the more you see. The quieter you are, the clearer the truth becomes. Silence turns you into a mirror that forces others to expose themselves, to speak their intentions, to reveal their insecurities without realizing it. And as they speak, you gain information that strengthens your position. Power, in its purest form, is the art of perception. People follow those they believe are competent, intelligent, and emotionally controlled. When you say less, people start to believe you possess these qualities, even before you prove them. They project wisdom onto you. They assume you are thinking deeply. They imagine that your silence hides strategy. They create an aura around you, not because of what you said, but because of what you did not say. This is why powerful leaders, negotiators, and strategists throughout history have used silence as their advantage. When you speak less, you do not broadcast your doubts. You do not reveal your vulnerabilities. You do not give your opponents material to twist or weapons to use against you. Every unnecessary word is a doorway through which someone can walk into your mind. The more you speak, the more open that doorway becomes. But when you close your mouth and observe, you slam that door shut. No one can predict your next move. No one knows where you stand. And people fear uncertainty more than any spoken threat. Think of a commander planning a battle. If he reveals even one detail too early, the enemy gains leverage. In life, the battlefield may not be made of swords and shields, but the same principles apply. Every conversation is a negotiation. Every interaction is an exchange of power. And by saying less, you give nothing away while gaining everything you need. People begin to talk more around you, eager to fill the silence you leave behind. They confess their struggles, their ambitions, their plans. They unknowingly hand you the map to their psyche. And all you did was stay quiet. Silence also elevates your presence. Each word you speak becomes amplified. People listen more attentively because they know you do not waste language. Your voice carries weight, not because it is loud, but because it is rare. When someone who speaks constantly gives advice, it blends into the noise. But when a silent individual opens their mouth, every eye turns, every ear sharpens. You command attention without demanding it. That is the essence of influence. But the power of saying less does not end with perception. Silence protects your emotional state. When you do not react verbally, you gain time. Time to think, time to strategize, time to choose the response that serves you, rather than the one your emotions push you toward. Most people speak impulsively. They reveal anger, frustration, fear, and insecurity without meaning to. But by holding your words, you hold your power. You deny others access to your emotional landscape. They cannot manipulate what they cannot see. Machiavelli teaches us that a ruler must always remain composed, even when chaos surrounds him. Silence allows you to maintain this composure. It becomes a cloak that shields you from provocation. Others will try to trigger you, to pull you into arguments, to push you into revealing your stance. But when you remain silent, they become frustrated. They expose their own impatience. They show their weaknesses. And you maintain the upper hand simply by refusing to engage on their terms. In social situations, speaking less creates an air of exclusivity. People feel they must earn your words. They become more thoughtful in their interactions with you. They approach you with more respect. They measure their words more carefully because they assume you are doing the same. Your silence becomes a silent contract. If they want your attention, your insight, or your approval, they must rise to your level. And without ever stating a rule, you establish your position as someone whose presence alone influences the behavior of others. Even those who dislike you begin to tread carefully. They cannot predict your reactions. They cannot read your mind. They cannot counter a strategy you keep hidden. And in their uncertainty, they hesitate. They make mistakes. They underestimate or overestimate you. And either one benefits you because silence gives you the freedom to move when they least expect it. Silence is not the absence of words. It is the presence of discipline. It is a deliberate choice to control the flow of information rather than be controlled by it. When you master this art, people watch you, follow you, and respect you not because you demanded it, but because your silence made them believe you already possessed it in every kingdom, every boardroom, every negotiation, and every human interaction. There is an invisible currency more valuable than gold: words. Not just what you say, but how you use them, how sparingly you release them, how strategically you hold them back. The economy of words determines who controls the conversation, who shapes perception, who directs the outcome, and ultimately, who holds the power. Speak too much, and you bankrupt your influence. Speak with precision, and you dominate without force. Most people believe that influence comes from expressing more, explaining more, justifying more. They try to talk their way into respect, into dominance, into being taken seriously. But Machiavelli understood something deeper. Every unnecessary word exposes a crack in your armor. Every excessive explanation gives others a clearer view of your motives, your insecurities, your plans. When your tongue moves faster than your mind, you surrender strategic advantage. And once it's gone, it's nearly impossible to reclaim. But when you treat words like currency, valuable, limited, and not to be wasted, you elevate yourself in the eyes of others. You create an aura of competence, self-control, and authority. People begin to assume that every word you speak has weight. They listen more carefully. They analyze your statements, your tone, your pauses. Even your silence becomes meaningful because it sits next to words that were chosen with intention rather than impulse. Think of a king sitting on his throne. He does not ramble. He does not explain his decisions to everyone. He does not reveal how he truly feels or what he truly anticipates. He speaks briefly, firmly, decisively. And because he says little, people assume he knows much. His economy of words becomes its own kind of power, shaping the world around him without the need for long speeches. In the modern world, this principle is more relevant than ever. Conversations are chaotic. People rush to respond before they even understand what is being said. They argue for the sake of expressing emotion, not for the sake of achieving outcomes. They drown in their own words, and in this sea of noise, the person who speaks less stands out like a lighthouse. When you speak with discipline, you become someone others cannot easily read or predict. You hold the advantage of ambiguity. You retain control of the narrative because you never reveal more than necessary. The economy of words is not about being quiet, it's about being intentional. If you say something, it's because it serves a purpose. You guide conversations like a general guiding a battle through strategy, not emotion. You speak to direct the flow of attention, to steer decisions, to subtly influence the mindset of those around you. And because you are selective, your words become anchors in the minds of others. People remember the brief, sharp sentences of a controlled speaker. They forget the endless monologues of those who try too hard. When you speak less, you create space for your words to echo, to be repeated, to be interpreted. This echo is where influence is born. A single measured sentence can stay alive in someone's mind long after a paragraph of emotional rambling has been forgotten. But the economy of words also protects you. Information is a weapon, and when given freely, it becomes a weapon that can be used against you. When you speak too openly about your plans, others can interfere. When you reveal your weaknesses, others can exploit them. When you expose your emotions, others can manipulate them. The less you reveal, the more control you maintain. You become the keeper of your own fate, rather than handing the reins to others. Imagine a negotiation where one side is explaining, defending, correcting, and justifying their position. The other side listens quietly, says little, asks short questions, and shows no desperation. Who holds the power? Not the one speaking. The one who speaks less controls the tempo. Their silence forces the other side to fill the space, to reveal more than they should, to make concessions they were not pressured to make. The economy of words is the economy of advantage. Even in personal relationships, the same dynamics apply. When you speak with restraint, people begin to value your presence more. They pay closer attention when you do choose to speak. They interpret your words with greater seriousness. They feel that your approval, your insight, your thoughts must be earned. This subtle psychological shift raises your status without you needing to announce it. You become someone whose words carry authority simply because you do not scatter them carelessly. In conflict, speaking less gives you the upper hand. The person who argues loudly exposes their emotional instability. The one who reacts verbally gives away their vulnerability. But the one who listens, observes, and responds with minimal but precise statements controls the battlefield. They maintain dignity. They maintain intelligence. They maintain psychological dominance. Others may raise their voices, but you raise your presence. Machiavelli would remind you that a ruler must always know the impact of his words. A single sentence can inspire loyalty or ignite rebellion. A careless phrase can create enemies. A controlled tone can secure alliances. When you recognize this power, you begin to treat speech as a weapon to be drawn only when necessary. The economy of words is the discipline of influence. It forces others to meet you on your level rather than dragging you into theirs. It allows you to speak with force without raising volume. It turns every sentence into strategy, every phrase into leverage, every silence into a command. When you master this economy, you no longer just participate in conversations, you shape them. You no longer react to others, you lead them. You no longer try to convince you, make others convince themselves. This is the power of speaking less and choosing words as carefully as a strategist chooses his next move. There is a strange phenomenon that occurs when you choose silence over speech. When you hold your tongue instead of rushing to explain yourself, people begin to reveal themselves. They expose their hopes, their motives, their insecurities, and their strategies without even realizing it. Machiavelli understood this deeply. The less you say, the more the world speaks to you. And the more the world speaks, the easier it becomes to see who stands with you, who stands against you, and who is simply waiting for the right moment to betray you. You have likely witnessed this without knowing it. Someone asks you a question. Instead of answering immediately, you pause. You take a breath, you simply wait, and suddenly they begin talking more. They expand their question. They justify their intentions. They reveal what they are truly thinking. The silence pressured them, even though you said nothing. They filled the space not because you asked them to, but because they feared what your silence might mean. That fear is where power begins. Most people cannot withstand a moment of uncertainty. They want clarity, reassurance, validation. When you say less, you deny them this comfort. You become unpredictable, unreadable, a presence they cannot easily categorize. Unpredictability makes people nervous. Nervous people talk. Nervous people overexpose. Nervous people betray their real thoughts long before you share yours. And in this imbalance, you gain the advantage without lifting a finger. Imagine you are sitting across from someone who wants something from you. It could be a favor, a deal, a confession, an explanation. If you immediately give your thoughts, you give them direction. You give them understanding. You give them the ability to adjust their approach based on your response. But if you say nothing, if you simply look at them, calm and silently begin adjusting without guidance. They reveal more details to convince you. They uncover their reasons. They start negotiating with themselves, lowering their demands, reshaping their questions, questioning their own position. All because you withheld yours. Silence is not passive. It is a deliberate tactic. It is the invitation that forces others to walk deeper into their own intentions. While they fill the void with their words, you gain insight. You learn how they think. You see how they react under pressure. You detect what they fear, what they desire, and what they are hiding. A person who talks too much cannot control perception. A person who listens with discipline controls the entire exchange. The world reveals itself to the silent observer. In conversations, people use words to cover their insecurities. In arguments, they use words to disguise their weaknesses. In negotiations, they use words to hide the limits of their tolerance. But when you say less, their words start slipping. They become careless. They rush to fill silence with whatever comes to mind. Their mask loosens. Their strategy collapses. Their true nature emerges. You become a mirror. You reflect nothing, so they project everything. and their projection becomes the truth you operate from. This is why spies, diplomats, and powerful rulers throughout history were trained to speak sparingly. Their silence was not shyness or politeness, it was strategic intelligence. The more others speak, the easier it becomes to manipulate outcomes. The more someone reveals, the easier it becomes to guide them where you want them to go. Words are breadcrumbs left behind by undisciplined minds. The silent strategist follows the trail until he reaches the heart of the person speaking. Silence also disrupts dominance games. When someone tries to intimidate you verbally, they expect resistance. They expect your voice to rise, your emotions to show, your stance to weaken. But when you remain silent, you reject their script. You strip them of the reaction they wanted. Instead of gaining power, they lose control. Their aggression begins to sound excessive. Their arrogance begins to appear foolish. They grow frustrated because they cannot control the exchange. They talk more, hoping to provoke you, but each word they speak reveals more of their true emotional state. And you, saying nothing, gain insight while keeping your power intact. Even in social situations, the person who talks the most often loses the most. Oversharing is a modern weakness. People reveal their private life, their opinions, their dreams, and their struggles too quickly. They give the world ammunition to use against them. But when you say less, you become mysterious. People become curious. They wonder about your background, your thoughts, your capabilities. Their curiosity becomes fixation. Their fixation becomes respect. And all you did was choose silence when others chose noise. This mystery is not accidental, it is psychological control. Human beings are naturally drawn to what they cannot fully understand. When someone reveals everything, people lose interest. There is nothing left to discover. But when someone hides more than they show, when they speak less than they know, people lean in. They watch more closely. They interpret your smallest actions, your expressions, your pauses. They study you without realizing they are doing it. Silence becomes your stage. Their curiosity becomes your audience. Their assumptions become your advantage. And from this advantage, you wield influence without pushing. You gain information without asking, and you command respect without demanding it. Because when others reveal themselves first, you gain the blueprint of their character, their intentions, and their weaknesses. And the one who knows more, without speaking more, holds the real power. There is a certain kind of power that does not shout, does not demand, and does not rely on dramatic gestures. It comes from restraint pure, disciplined restraint. The ability to hold back when others rush forward. The strength to measure your reactions when others lose control. The wisdom to speak only when your words will strike with maximum effect. This quiet strength is not weakness. It is the very foundation of psychological dominance. Machiavelli understood that the true ruler is not the one who speaks constantly, but the one who shows mastery over himself, because the person who controls himself naturally controls those who cannot. When you say less, you do more than conserve words. You demonstrate mastery over impulses, emotions, and the need for validation. You communicate without speaking that you are not driven by insecurity or ego. You show that you do not need constant approval. And this restraint becomes a kind of authority in itself. People respect what they cannot easily provoke. They admire what does not crumble under pressure. They follow what appears steady when the world becomes chaotic. Imagine a confrontation. One person raises their voice, flails their arms, argues with desperation. Another person stands still, quiet, composed, speaking only when necessary. Which one appears stronger? Which one commands the room? Which one holds the psychological high ground? Always the one who remains controlled. Because chaos never respects chaos. Chaos respects order, discipline, and the one who refuses to be manipulated. Restraint is not silence for the sake of silence. It is an active display of inner power. It tells others that your emotions do not govern you, your impulses do not dictate your behavior, and your reactions are not for sale. People test each other constantly, especially in moments of stress. They push to see who will crack. They provoke to measure your stability. But when you hold your ground with calmness, you deny them the satisfaction of controlling your state of mind. And the person who cannot be controlled instantly becomes someone others treat with caution and respect. This is why disciplined individuals rise in hierarchies. They are trusted because they are predictable. They remain composed when decisions matter most. They do not panic, they do not overshare, they do not sabotage themselves with emotional outbursts. Their restraint signals maturity, intelligence, and reliability. Even if they speak little, their presence speaks loudly. In negotiations, restraint becomes a weapon. When you remain calm, your opponent becomes uneasy. They begin wondering what you know that they don't. They suspect you have a strategy they cannot see. They become impatient, and impatient people make costly mistakes. They reveal their hand, show their weaknesses, and over-adjust their position. All you did was remain composed while they tried to decipher your silence. Restraint also gives you control over timing, the most underestimated force in human interaction. Speaking too early exposes your thoughts. Reacting too quickly reveals your emotions. But when you wait, when you observe, when you allow the moment to unfold, you gain the advantage of timing your response for maximum impact. Power is not only about what you say or do, it is about when you choose to say it or do it. A delayed response can be more intimidating than a strong, immediate one. A measured pause can command more attention than a long explanation. People lean into silence, searching for meaning, and that search gives you control. But perhaps the greatest strength of restraint is the message it sends to yourself. Each time you choose not to react impulsively, you reinforce your dominance over your own mind. You show yourself that you are the master, not your anger, not your pride, not your fear. Machiavelli wrote that a leader must first conquer himself before he can command others. Restraint is that inner conquest, the quiet victory that builds confidence from within. When you learn to control what comes out of your mouth, you begin to control what happens around you. Even in everyday life, restraint changes how people interact with you. When you do not speak unnecessarily, people assume your silence is intentional. They measure their words more carefully. They treat you with more seriousness. They hesitate before speaking impulsively in front of you because your composure exposes their lack of it. Without issuing a command, you raise the standards of every conversation you are part of. And in social circles, restraint becomes a form of mystique. When people cannot predict your reactions, when they cannot read your emotions, when they cannot guess what you are thinking, they see you as someone of depth and complexity. Humans are drawn to what they cannot fully understand. They become curious about the person who speaks less and observes more. They begin seeking your approval instead of trying to impress those who speak too freely. Mystery is not created by hiding mystery, is created by restraint, by giving only what is necessary and withholding the rest. In leadership, restraint becomes a stabilizing force. People look to you when uncertainty rises. They watch how you react. If you crumble, they lose confidence. If you panic, they panic. But if you remain calm, even when storms surround you, they draw strength from your composure. Restraint becomes a signal that everything is under control, even when you are still calculating your next move. And this trust, this perception of strength, makes others willingly follow your lead. Restraint separates you from the masses. It makes your presence heavier, your words more valuable, your influence more effortless. It is not showmanship. It is not manipulation. It is simply the quiet confidence of someone who understands that power is never in the noise. Power lies in the person who does not need noise to prove it, you said. In the end, power does not belong to the loud, the dramatic, or the endlessly expressive. It belongs to the one who observes more than he speaks, who calculates more than he reveals, who listens long enough for others to expose themselves. Silence becomes perception. Precision becomes influence. Restraint becomes control. And through these three forces, a person rises above the noise of the world and begins to shape it instead. Machiavelli understood that a ruler's greatest weapon is not his army, nor his wealth, nor even his intelligence. It is his discipline. The discipline to speak with intention, to listen with strategy, and to hold his mind steady when others lose theirs. If you master the art of saying less, you create space for others to show who they truly are, while keeping your own power intact. You become unpredictable, unreadable, and unmistakably respected. Because in a world overflowing with voices desperate to be heard, true authority belongs to the one who does not need to shout, the one whose silence says more than anyone else's words ever could.